So what's the first thing you would say about this particular kit?
It looks like it's been designed by people who don't normally design football kits.
Right.
Or indeed have any sort of interest in football or kits. Hi guys, welcome back to the kit breakdown. Today we are talking to you about the Napoli kit, or one of the Napoli kits.
11, Rob.
11, it's crazy,
11.
isn't it? I think it would be
Including
nice
goalkeeper's kit.
if this Armani logo served as a live ticker as to exactly how many shirts there have been. It's 11 at the time of filming, could be even more, even by the time we've finished this somewhat short
I
video.
think they've had a Halloween one, they've had a Valentine's one, they've had a Christmas one.
They have.
I mean, come on.
It's almost like the kits are made by Hallmark instead of Armani.
Yeah, well, to be fair, you can see where this is going to go, right? We're going to be talking about price, you know, the legitimacy of having that many kits, taking the piss out of the consumers. We're going to cover all of that. We're obviously going to get into the design of the particular shirt as well. There actually is some really nice details on this, but there's also some absolute shockers. And I think probably the thing that surprised us the most is where this thing's actually being made. So, let's get into it, Rob.
Yeah, let's have a look at the action.
So what's the first thing you would say about this particular kit?
It looks like it's been designed by people who don't normally design football kits.
Right.
Or indeed have any sort of interest in football or kits.
Right, okay. Well, what I would say, so here's my point of view on it. Visually, it doesn't look that bad, but it's not a kit that is going to win any design awards, let's be honest. But once you get into the nitty gritty of it, we've got a couple of different fabrications. Now, bearing in mind, before we get into this, remember how much this is going to cost you to buy. This is 125 euros, which is about the equivalent to what, 115, 119, 120 pounds?
The current exchange rate, so
yeah, it's all over the
25
place.
quid.
Right, so bearing in mind you've spent all of that money. Now, if you look at that, and we'll have to get a close-up.
Or maybe we won't.
But there's basically a line where it's actually been ironed so badly at the factory that it's actually destroyed.
It's burnt the print off
of the garment. So if you're buying that as a consumer, before you've even taken it out of the store, it's already a defect.
Mamma mia.
Straight away, that's a nightmare. Now, look what happens when I pull that. So basically, because the shirt's being made out of white fabric, it's basically a sublimation print. Then you've got the inside neckline detail, which has got this nice little tape and detail that hasn't been stitched on very well. Now, also bear in mind, as we're talking about this is Emporio Armani, right? So you would think that some of that stuff, it'll just be beautifully made. So as the stitching line goes over, you're left with this blue stitching, Rob.
Yep.
Straight into the black. I mean, really? So
not great, is it?
Not great. So I quite like the design that goes down the arm. I don't actually mind that chevron design. I quite like it. Now, let's talk about the sponsors' logos. So the sponsors' logos in general that we've seen over the last couple of seasons, they've kind of moved away from this perf, where these guys have actually perfed
are really
it.
good.
And these aren't too bad. Now, let's be absolutely honest, right? The perf does add a little bit, but let's be really honest, it's not an awful lot, because by the time the glue gets behind it, it's probably not going to be letting air through or whatever. But visually, I think it's just a little bit of less on the eye. It takes a little bit of the weight of the print out of it, but it's not a huge thing. But I do like it.
Yeah.
It still could be better, but what's nice about it is the texture of it is not too bad. The next thing that I do like about this is I think the actual crest itself is actually really quite lovely. It's very simplistic. It's got like a nice high-rised kind of high-density print on a couple of different areas. The logo itself's got like a little felt applique behind it. Most importantly, on the inside, there is nothing there at all, so it's really nice and flat. The neckline at the back, in actual fact, to be fair, it looks like they've ripped off the Nike neckline, but they've done it a little bit better, if I may say. Apart from, yeah, I think you're going to point that out, Rob.
Yeah, so The execution of it, the shape of it's really nice, but where they've used a bar tack, which is the finishing stitch when you're putting a seam together, to hold it together underneath, it's not over the seam, it's just kind of floating. So again, they're just kind of, yeah, just really badly done, really badly done. Something that you would expect would get caught,
Yeah.
you know, in the factory at quality
Got a bit
control.
of a jacquard on it though, Rob. Is that a... No, it's not. It's a deboss, that, is it not?
Yeah, a little bit of a deboss on it, so that's quite nice. I think, coming back to your point around the print and the colour, something that's frustrating is sometimes brands have to print all the colours on it because the colours are too similar that you need to print a darker colour on a lighter colour. And so if you've got, say, a red and blue Crystal Palace shirt, for instance, you can't print red on blue or the blue on the red, so they have to go with what they've got. Here, it starts with a base of light blue, so that could easily have been a light blue fabric with the darker colours then printed over the top.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
So there's no reason to have done that other than they weren't going to use enough of this fabric with it only being on the sleeve to justify doing it light blue. But then if they know they're going to be making another 10, 11, 12 shirts over the remainder of the season, surely they can figure out reusing that fabric somewhere else.
Would you, in your expert opinion, you know, you've worked in the industry for as long as you have, you know, they've released 11 kits. Do you think that was something that they've decided as they've gone through the season, or do you think they've genuinely sat at the beginning of the season, said, right, we are going to have 3 kits, we're going to have a Halloween kit, we're going to have Valentine's kit? Do you genuinely think they've thought this through right from the beginning, or?
Well, they've got to have. I mean, the timelines of producing a kit, you know, there's no way they could be making the decisions last minute for the quantities that they would need to be producing for a club like Napoli. If it was limited edition and there were going to be 100 Valentine's Day shirts or something, maybe. But I mean, they did it last season as well, so it's clearly a strategy of some description. Yeah.
Well, the one thing that I have noticed is pretty much most kits nowadays are made in China. Most of them.
Or certainly Southeast Asia in general.
Yeah, I would say so, definitely. What's interesting about this little bit of investigation is it's actually been made in Turkey.
Right.
And the fabric's from Turkey.
Okay.
So that tells me that, again, it's probably not produced in huge numbers, which is why it's being produced in Turkey, because there probably hasn't been. As much as Napoli is a well-supported team, it's not a Man United where they're going to be selling millions of shirts every season.
Part of the challenge with that, and has been for quite a few years, is having the double sponsor on the front, and particularly this one being red. So however nicely designed the shirt might be as a base, it's still a challenge in terms of getting somebody to wear that if they're not a Napoli supporter, because the sponsor is always going to turn it into a really overbaked shirt, really.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. And one last thing I've got to go back to, as I kind of pulled that out. So again, we're talking Armani, right? How on earth does that pass QC with all of these little threads hanging out of it? I mean, it's just not an Armani product. It just isn't. So
unless it's been made by the perfume people.
Well, even then, I think
perhaps the original plan was that it would be an airport giveaway. Buy a bottle of EA7.
It certainly doesn't smell like it.
Get that with it.
But anyway, so there you go. We reviewed Napoli. Thankfully, we don't have all 11 in front of it because we don't really like that idea. We are definitely the supporters of going back to one shirt for 2 seasons. It's a tough ask of the brands and of the teams, but honestly, think about the environment, think about kids' purse strings, all the rest of it that goes with it. Please go back to one shirt every 2 seasons and rotate the bloody things. And as far as Napoli is concerned, come on, 11 kits in a season.
Well, we've still got Easter, Mother's Day to look forward to. There could be shirts for that. Presumably they're going to win the league.
Yeah.
So look forward to the gold one with a picture of Maradona on the front of it.
And look at that. As we've been videoing it, we've actually clicked it as well. Oh my goodness.
Oh dear.
So Not good, Armani. Not good at all.
Do you agree? Have you enjoyed the video? But importantly, in the comments, what do you think about this? Do you think it's a great idea, badly executed? Do you wish your club were doing 11, 12, 13, 50, 100 kits a season? I'd like to think not, but we'd be interested to find out. So let us know. Don't forget to subscribe and also check out our Patreon for exclusive content and even direct conversations with us every month.
No, wouldn't that be nice?
Oh, it would. Unless you work for Armani's design team, then you'd be in trouble. Thanks a lot. See you next time.
Cheers, guys. 15, Rob, this season, including goalkeepers'
I
kits.
thought it was 9.
15.
I thought it was 11.
15, I think it was. I'll double check. Just hang on. We'll just edit that one.
Yeah, it's 11.
Do that again. Can we start again?
Yeah.
Right, so again.